Growing up with my brothers, I had two older brothers who were diagnosed later on with paranoid schizophrenia. We had a very normal childhood, went out playing together and that's it really. Nothing indicating the horror to come, put it like that. My first brother was diagnosed when he was about 18. I wasn't aware of any problems with him. I was about 14 at the time, totally unaware until he was diagnosed, and then he wasn't committed anywhere, and so things started happening and he became more and more ill before he went to Broadmoor at 23. I think he'd gone into the army to enroll for whatever, and the army psychiatrist picked it up straight away. I wasn't really aware of the impact at the time, and I didn't even consider how my parents felt, and was busy getting on with my own life. Although I could see this was going on on the side, there were a couple of horrific incidences, which I suppose, if I was honest, really did have a big impact on me, but they didn't put me off what I was doing. When my other brother was diagnosed, he'd had quite a checkered past, but I hadn't realised that he was mentally ill. He came to visit me and started talking rubbish, and I thought, oh, you know, he's definitely not well. That crystallised it for me. I sort of had an idea, but when he started talking gibberish, I thought, oh dear. I had no understanding of mental health problems or schizophrenia before either of my brothers were diagnosed, none whatsoever. I suppose the emotional impact is the loss of how they would have been. So you imagine that they might have got married and had children, and you would have been an aunt. You'd have had two sister-in-laws. You just imagine things like that. My role with both my brothers and how I've helped them have been quite different. Being about 1985, in Enfield, in Edmonton, in a tower block. He was on the 17th floor, which is where a mental health patient shouldn't have been, and he shouldn't have been housed there. Instead of sectioning him, I wanted him sectioned at the time. They would push his medication through the letterbox and say that they couldn't, they were too worried about going into him, so he didn't take his medication because it was on the floor and he was getting more and more ill. I was banging on doors, council, mental health team, MP, filmed him in his flat where he was on the 17th floor and threatened. I didn't know I was going to cry about that. I haven't cried about that one for ages. As I said, I took a video, and Michael Portillo was the MP at the time, and I threatened to expose what they were doing and how the bad practice in the area. And lo and behold, he was placed in a mental health unit, kind of like a house up in the Ridgeway in Enfield, where he spent about a year and then moved to his flat. So that's been over 28, 30 years. I can't believe that. 30 years is where he is now. My help there was practical, sort of getting things organised and sorted, etc. And he doesn't need any emotional support because he just doesn't connect. So that's not a requirement, although it is, you know, I have to make sure that I go round and check and everything else just for my own peace of mind. But emotionally, he doesn't connect. So practically, I've been able to sort him out. And I think it's just what you do if you can. I wouldn't say I found it emotionally rewarding. I would say I found it quite harrowing. I suppose it's nice to be where he is now, and I'd have to say I won't let anybody take the housing away or put him back in a flat in the community, so that's not going to happen. With the other brother, that's different too, because this is a person that was always away for quite some time. So, and of course we went to visit him and went to his tribunals and things like that, but this person has another life. They have a life in the institution where they're at, of which you have no part, and you're getting on with your own life. So gradually, as he came out and went into forensic units that were medium secure, etc., etc., was able to connect with him more and more. So, and go out, and he could come to the house for the weekend and all sorts of things like that. So, and he wanted to, and so that developed like that. Stay for weekends, go out for coffee. So, totally different and very enjoyable. I'd like to say it's vital to have a family member involved and committed, but that can't always be the case. And I think to have the expectation that it's your responsibility wouldn't be much fun. It's something that you take on if you want to, and if you don't want to be involved, at least if you read everything around it, you know how to cope with situations when they come up, because you might not want to be involved with your sibling, which is fine, but you probably still want the best outcome for them. So if you know everything that you should know about CPA, tribunals, custody suites, benefits and things like that, you can be involved in a detached way, but knowing that you're making a big difference. So emotionally, you might not want to be involved. Nobody's saying you should be, but in a way you can do as much good by just equipping yourself and helping your sibling like that. The reason why I think the Siblings Network is a really new, important forum is because of the new model, the new type. Although it's welcoming and all-embracing to people of all ages, as long as they're siblings, I did notice at the siblings event this year at the Russell Hotel that there were much younger profile, and that was rewarding, that's inspiring. I think a lot of them found on the day how the different types of support there was, and the networking is something that was never around when I had that first sort of experience with my brothers. So not only have they a new way of connecting, an instantaneous way of connecting with Facebook and Twitter and things like that, supporting each other, and forums and blogs, they've got the backup with all the information and advice from Rethink Mental Illness, and I just think that's brilliant. I really do.